It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Look, we're all nerds here. Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is a great place to pick up nerdy paraphernalia and groovy wares. How about some sweet lava lamp dice? Or maybe a funky 70s Rec Room Nerd Circus dice box? Does that do anything for you? Need a drink? What about the book Mystic Libations? Critical cocktails for the thirsty adventurer. Look, Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is the place for nerdy threads, cool tabletop gifts, and more. Go to thenerdcircus.com and check out the cool stuff. Oh yeah, and let them know the TTRPG Insider sent you. Welcome back to TTRPG Insider. I am your host, Rob Southgate. The TTRPG Insider is a podcast about, shockingly enough, tabletop role-playing games. More specifically, it's about the amazing people that create TTRPGs. Every episode, I interview someone who's involved in the making of games that we all love to play. I want to hear their stories, about their lives, about them as game makers or creators, not just a description of their game. You can follow TTRPG Insider on Facebook by searching for TTRPG Insider. I plan to add other social media, but for now, that is the best place. If you want to email me, you can send me an email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. This month, we are featuring Cthulhu Dreamt by Action Fiction. They have a Kickstarter campaign starting August 8th, 2023. If you're hearing this before that date, you can follow the links in the show notes to be notified when the campaign goes live. After that date, you can follow the same link to support this crowdfunding effort. Please support Cthulhu Dreamt, both financially and by sharing it across your social media. You never know who's going to fall in love with this game. So go to Kickstarter and search for Cthulhu Dreamt, or simply click on the link in our show notes today. Our guest today is Reed Reimer, the music director for Cthulhu Dreamt. That's right, this game is based on a metal album. Here's Reed. Reed, thank you for joining me. I am super excited to talk to you. We have a game that you're involved with that I want to talk a little bit about, but I really want to hear about you, and I want to hear about what you do. Anyone that's watching this as a video, because there are going to be people seeing it, will notice an array of guitars and a keyboard and music behind you, which we're going to get into. But first, why don't you tell people a little bit about you?
Well, thanks, Rob, for having me. I'm Reed. I write music for a living. These are all props just for the interview. Like, I don't actually play anything. I just sing. No, no, but really, no. I've been a lifelong musician. I play quite a few different instruments. I love writing for voice and orchestra. I've got a beautiful family, a wife and two twin daughters who are turning 8, like in a week from today, as of this interview.
Wow, exciting! That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, what can I say except that I'm pretty grateful for everything I have and the ability to like work with so many awesome people who I consider my friends, you know, not only on this project, Cthulhu Dreamt, but like so many other things, and just like seeing them flourish and, you know, getting to kind of bask in each other's glow as we do these things together is pretty awesome.
You ever dress those twins up as the Shining Twins? It's all I heard. As soon as you said you had twin girls, you ever dress them up that way?
I don't. They like they're. It's a fault as a father where I pretty much like let them kind of decide what they want. Like, I've never done the thing where it's like, let's do some creepy, like cool twinsy stuff. Like we just let their, like my wife and I, Pretty much, yeah. So like they're super individual, and I, at one point, I even went so far as to get a gasp out of my wife when I shaved the side of my daughter's head because she wanted a haircut like Namari from Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon, because she had like this cool hairdo where it was like shaved side of head.
Yeah, right. I know they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for her, and, and the wife was like, "Oh, maybe not again for a while."
Now, are they identical twins?
They're not.
They're
Nope.
not. Okay, so that helps with the whole creepy thing.
Yeah.
We have some good friends who have two daughters that are now in college, and they are identical. You can tell a little bit now, but boy, as kids. So you could definitely get the creepy twin vibe, and they were super introverted, so they were really quiet. And like even their parents were like, yeah, it's terrifying when they walk down the hall together. And you're like, oh no.
I think there are times my daughters wished they were identical so that they could like take their pranks to the next level, because they do love scaring people and like all of that kind of stuff.
We used to play a game with my daughter called Hide and Go Scare. My wife was a certified nanny, and she has all these like incredible things she's created that you can't make money off of. One is a game called Hide and Go Scare. It's hide and go seek, but when they find you, you jump out and scare the absolute crap out of them.
Oh.
So we taught this to my daughter. She's like 3, right? And we'd play this every night. She loved it. She's laughing. Then she got really friggin' scary.
Yeah.
And scared my wife so bad one night that I was like, we're not playing this anymore. Game over. She hid in the shower. We could not find her. And my wife started to get kind of panicked. And then when I was like, she's in the shower, we pulled the shower curtain. She had put a stocking over her face and goes, ah. And my wife's like, ah. And she goes, oh my God, Molly, that scared me. And my daughter's laughing this maniacal laugh. And then she looks out at my wife again and she goes, maybe it's not Molly. That was it. Game over.
Ah, yes.
Thank God you don't have twins.
Oh,
that's
man.
it. Because that would have been 2 of them. Yeah. So
that's perfect though. Like when their minds reach that point where it's like you take it the extra mile and you do that really freaky, like really just deadpan thing. Like that's the ultimate.
Yeah. Well, we reached it. So speaking of creepy and cool, you are involved in. Now you said Cthulhu.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, I'm probably going to go back and forth. Cthulhu Dreamt. It's an RPG.
Yeah.
And this is our feature for August. We're going to be talking about this game. We're going to be interviewing people that are involved in this game. I'm really excited to get into this. I thought last month was fabulous. This is so fun to hear about all the behind the scenes stuff. For you.
Yeah.
What is your, I can guess. I mean, I'm sure everybody can guess, but what is your job on Cthulhu Dreamt?
So Cthulhu Dreamt is actually a project that I started like right as COVID was starting. I've experienced loss. Like my wife and I lost a daughter in childbirth, and and I created, or I wanted to do something where it was like I could kind of process a lot of those feelings of like grief and loss and depression, and I wanted something where I could scream and like move around, like just like uncaringly just like let everything kind of go and let it just be out there. And what better way than like some heavy metal, just like move the body, like let all of the organs like slosh around as you're like flailing. And so I started this project with a couple friends, and like whenever I create whatever it is, like it's so much easier to create something with a story. And so when we started this, I worked with another really close friend of mine to come up with an essential backstory, like a world of Cthulhu Dreamt, and it was very analogous to like my story, where it was like this person had lost a child, but in the world of Cthulhu Dreamt, they are a scientist, and so they used their science to research a way that they could open up the multiverse and like reunite with another, like their child again, but it would be another version, obviously. And so like that's the story of the first album, is like this person doing this thing, and when they finally achieve the experiment, fortuitous things occur, and it brings like Relay and Cthulhu to the world, and then so that's how it started. And we've made a couple albums, and like kind of early on, I was having a conversation with my friend Jaron from Action Fiction, who's doing the game of the TTRPG for this project. But we were talking about it, and he's like, "Have you ever thought about like making a game out of this?" And I was like, "Well, I am now." And so,
as long as you're saying it, yes.
Yeah. So that's how the game was born, and like we've been working on, like, that conversation was nearly 2 years ago, and now it's kind of come to fruition, and so like I'm working with all of these friends doing this stuff, and for the game specifically, like not only does everything we've made up to now like tie in, but for the game, we're writing a soundtrack, or it's actually written, like it's completed already, but we've written a soundtrack to go along with the story, like the campaign, and
Sure.
And I've worked with my friends to do this, and we've created like nearly 3 hours of music, and we've hired international orchestras to record. And
Wow,
like,
so you went all out on this.
Yeah, it's definitely like the passion for this project is huge, and we're going big.
Yeah, very cool. So as far as music goes, and this is more you rather than the project.
Yeah.
Is metal your thing, or is it like that's just the tool for this, and I'm into this and I'm into this? What's kind of your genre that you go toward?
Oh, film music is probably my
film music. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like, John Williams is probably the biggest name, from a classical perspective.
I'm kidding.
Yes. Hans Zimmer is another one, which is like, huge in pop culture with all the stuff that he's done. But like, yeah, film music, classical orchestral music, choral music, metal, punk rock, like those are like my favorite genres, and like I'll listen to all that stuff. But I have a deep appreciation for like all music, and
Sure.
like some of that even comes through in Cthulhu Dreamt. Like you might be listening through the album, and it'll go from a metal track to, oh, now there's like EDM. Why, like there, or
Cool.
there's synthwave in here, or like what's a trap song doing in the middle of a metal record, type of thing. But I love, like, there's stuff that I'm not a super fan of, but I will find something in there to appreciate, because when you're driving across the country, sometimes all you get is like one station, and it's
right.
You're gonna listen. So
yeah, especially before like satellite radio, or before like
Yes.
when we had junker cars and we didn't have a CD player or even a working tape deck.
Right.
You had to listen to whatever was on there.
Yeah.
That is how I discovered like the Leuven brothers with their Christian whatever, and you're like, what is this weird? And then I ended up getting into it and thinking, hey, actually, this is some pretty interesting music.
Yeah.
I'm not really into their message, but I'm definitely digging on what they're doing here. Like I could see that popped into the middle of your metal album too,
Yeah. Well, and like, it's interesting because unless like technology goes away, like nobody will need to experience that anymore,
Right.
which is a super interesting thing to think about. But yeah, like the last EP that Cthulhu Dreamt came out with, I think like the second or third track is a choral track. Like it's just like,
love it.
Yeah. So it's yeah, I love all music, but those are my favorites. Film
You ever
score
hear that Kinks album, the Kinks choral album, where they had the I think it was the Westminster Choir doing Kinks songs?
Yeah.
But it's Ray Davies like singing and directing it, and you're like, oh my God, like
Yes.
this is brilliant. And it's still those same songs that I was like trying to get fuzz guitar sound on. I mean, that's so cool.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. I'm totally with you on all this. In fact, I have a quick story. People that listen know that I digress a lot. A friend of mine is actually he was on many podcasts with me. So people that follow me know the name Jack. Jack is a professional jazz trumpet player. He was the lead trumpet in the President's Band. He went on to he was a lead trumpet in 1 O'Clock Band in North Texas. I mean, like, this guy is the guy, right? And he moves down to Miami to get his doctorate. And while he's down there, he starts getting all these gigs. And he's sending me texts with pictures of these gigs. One gig he takes a selfie, and he's sitting in the lead seat, and sitting in the jazz chair is Arturo Sandoval, who is a huge trumpet player. I'm like, Jack, is that Arturo? He's like, yeah, I'm playing lead and he's in the jazz seat. I'm like, wow. Then he sends me one not long after. This is where the story is going. That was the setup. It's a picture of Jack with 2 guys with their arms around him. On one side, Quincy Jones. On the other side, John Williams.
Oh, what the heck?
He played a gig where he played lead trumpet and those guys directed. And he said, as a trumpet player, you have not lived until you've played the Raiders of the Lost Ark theme with John Williams conducting you and pointing at you the whole time. He's like, I could just die. Like, that's it right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that. I listen to a lot of orchestral music, a lot of soundtrack stuff. I'm all over the place too. When you said punk, you hit me square in the heart there, especially like 70s, 80s punk, Husker Du, and New York scene. I'm like way into it. So
yeah, like the CBGB stuff, like
great stuff. And it's so diverse too. And people say punk, it's like, yeah, Tough Darts is extremely different than Talking Heads, but Talking Heads were kind of a punk band at that time.
Yeah.
You know, when they first came out, that Fear of Music is kind of a punk thing going on. My daughter's gotten into Sonic Youth and all this, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yep.
And now she's discovered that Lou Reed is kind of the root of it. And I'm like, yes, Lou Reed.
Oh, Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, I love it all. So your relationship, obviously, with music we've talked about. What about, are you a Lovecraft guy or a horror guy, or is it just kind of like that just attracted you?
I like not super into Lovecraft. I'm more on the side of horror.
Okay.
And like I like it a lot. And there's like I'm a big reader. And there's only been like
is that why you changed your name to Reed?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah,
and like Reimer, like I have to have an alliterative name that also has to do with literature.
Are you a Marvel superhero?
Oh man, I should be, but I don't think my power would be very good.
And these are my evil twin henchmen. Oh, they're so sweet.
Yes, yeah, they will do the murdering, but no, like I've only read 2 stories that legitimately scared me, and one of them was Stephen King's Salem's Lot, and the other was At the Mountains of Madness. Like it just, I don't know if it was the time when I read it or whatever, but it just freaked me out that there was like this city in Antarctica, you know, just like the premise, and I think I just like suspended all disbelief, and then it freaked me out. So so that like really spoke to me, and then just like the mythos of Cthulhu itself is like, I love the fact that there's this creature that we're not even supposed to be able to comprehend, you know, and you know, it just, I don't know, it's just freaky and cool.
I agree. I mean, like Lovecraft himself, not a great guy, but the writing can be hard, but the concepts, the Cthulhu stuff, the old gods, like I read recently Color Out of Space, which is a short story that Nicolas Cage made a movie out of it.
Yep.
Oh my God. Like I became obsessed with this short story. I'm like, this is brilliant. How weird is that a color is the alien, and started in like everything started turning color, but it's like dangerous and awful, and it's just a color. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah. It's really cool. The movie was pretty cool too, I thought.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. I won't ruin anything then.
Let's see. There's a Nicolas Cage and there's color coming out of space. I'm in.
Yes.
Like we just saw the Renfield trailer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There was 2 reactions. My wife's was, I bet you want to see this. And the other reaction was me looking like I was going to explode. I can't wait to see this.
Yes. It looks super fun.
As soon as he shows up and he floats above that party, and they're like,
Yes.
This is a little more serious than we thought. I'm like, and it's Nicolas Cage. I mean, I'm all in. I just pushed all my chips to the center of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
Did you happen to see The Incredible Weight of Massive Talent with Nick Cage?
Not yet.
Okay. It's I'm a huge Pedro Pascal fan too.
Me too.
But like that movie, like I didn't have really super high expectations, but I went into it and it just like it became like I loved it. Like it just it took a couple turns and I was like, yes, this is great.
That's what I would say about him. Now we're talking. Welcome to the Nicolas Cage podcast.
Yes.
I love that he swings for the fences.
Yeah.
And when it's bad, it's almost deliciously bad.
Yeah.
And when it's good, it's like, wait, you're talking an Oscar winner. What the hell is he doing in Renfield? But
yeah,
it makes so much sense when you look at this guy's career. So,
yeah.
So what's your history with TTRPG? I know that you said that you were talking to Jaron and he suggested, but are you a player? Have you played?
I have played. I'm not a normal player. Like shame on me. I spend so much time working, like writing music and developing other projects that I don't have a ton of free time to be able to like have a regular group and a consistent group. But like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually, because my surrogate grandma, who introduced me to fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons when I was just a wee lad.
Shout out to Grandma, very cool,
yeah.
Grandma.
Yeah, I mean, and like not to like put a sad note on this, but she just like recently passed away, which is okay because she was suffering from dementia for a while. But
sure.
But yeah, like I've been thinking about that and like how like significant her role in my life was, because fantasy and then sci-fi have become such a huge part of just the things that inspire me and like what I'm a fan of and entertain me and like help, brighten my world, I guess. Like she introduced me to that and like I got to do all these cool things and like enjoyed these worlds because of that. And yeah, so like, yeah, I don't play a ton, but like I'm a huge supporter. Like I'll back projects just because it looks cool and like I want to read through the zine even though I'm not going to play it or like stuff like that.
Right.
But when I do play, we always go big. Like I buy figurines so we can do all of this stuff.
Everything.
And, and my wife is like, "How much are you spending?" And I was like, "It's an investment, okay?"
Right. It's called Kids with Bikes. I had to buy bikes for everybody in the family.
Yes.
Okay, Reed. Yeah, I do understand that. I have a stack of shame that's just ridiculous. And then I made friends with a guy who has a company that has all these RPG PDFs in that, and he just unloaded. So I've got like 400 games. I'm like, I can't play these. I mean, for the rest of my life, I'll never get to all this stuff.
Yes.
Keep them coming though, because they're so cool.
Well, and that's kind of the thing too. It's like I'll buy these things that look really cool to me, and yes, they might sit on my shelf, but I'm a romantic, and I like every time I do it, I think, oh, one of these days, one of my girls is gonna like walk up to that bookshelf and like see something that kind of is interesting, pull it down and go through and like just dive into this world. And it's like, I like the idea of having something there that they might stumble across, and even if they don't, no worries. But like if they do, I mean, just having it is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe one of their friends gets inspired or whatever. When I first read Lock and Key, I remember I had the comic and I had it sitting in the back seat. My daughter was way too young for Lock and Key. And I turn around and she's halfway through the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what are you reading? And she's like, you could see like fireworks. And, it wasn't long after that she kept talking about it. She kept thinking about it. She ended up transcribing it and did a stage reading of it at a science fiction theater downtown Chicago.
Oh,
she cast it.
Cool.
She did it with all kids. It was like, and it was, my wife hadn't read it. So we're like 3 minutes into it. There's 3 like horrible, grisly murders to start it off. And my wife turns to the audience. She's like, I had no idea. Like she just went full on with it.
Yes.
Like, well, that wasn't grisly enough. I'm going to have him go to the back of the head with the axe. We're like, wow. And you're what, 9? What the? So yeah, you are right. I'm very similar in that respect. So for bands that you love, I mean, we talked about music, but are there any bands that you're like, this is the band I'm obsessed with right now? This is who I'm listening to.
Yeah. So I think one of my kind of always go-to bands is a band called Mastodon.
Yeah, I know Mastodon, sure.
Yeah, they're like southern kind of, proggy metal. and like I love them a ton. Like Opeth, I've gotten into since Cthulhu Dreamt started. Opeth has been one of those bands where it's like their catalog is, they've been around for a while, so I get to learn, like, listen to all this for the first time, and
it's new to you, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
It's excellent. And then other than like that kind of band stuff, another band that is writing stuff similar to like how I think is a band called Igor, like Igorr.
I don't know that one.
Yeah,
cool.
They're out of France, but they like write some super weird, like cool stuff, like heavy, but like also it like mixes like world music and different cultures, and it has a very, very unique sound. Yeah, and like they're going on tour in the US this year, and I'm catching them in September, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Very cool. I'll put actually a link to one of their things on Spotify in the show notes. Okay. And then that way, if anyone wants to check it out, they can check it out. I'll try to get Mastodon in there. I'll try to get an Igor in there. Yes. So yeah, you never know. I mean, that's how I am. I hear those things and I want to try it and listen,
Yeah.
I usually go the punk route, not the metal, but then there's a burger place here that they serve amazing gourmet burgers and play incredibly loud death metal. That's how I know Mastodon. They play Mastodon in there all the time. And I'm always like, I'm not listening to this at home, but I am eating a burger and rocking the hell out to this because it's awesome.
Yes.
It's just it's so good. So yeah, I get it, man. I get it.
Yep.
So you said you play a bunch of instruments.
Yeah.
You want to run a list of things you play?
I mean, like pretty much everything in a band I can play. Drums, guitar, bass, keyboard. And then from there, it gets a little rusty. Like I'm classically trained in voice. I sang in choir for so many years and university choirs and stuff like that. So I suppose that would be my most trained instrument. But then I don't know, like I never really know how to categorize it, but like I am also trained in how to write for orchestra, even though I can't play all of those instruments. But a lot of like composers and conductors consider the orchestra just a single instrument, essentially.
Right.
But like, I've taken violin, saxophone, and then pretty much any stringed instrument. Because I play guitar, it's kind of easy to pick up and start fiddling. But like, if it were like a sitar or something crazy, it'd probably take me a few more days than just
700 strings on this. I'm going to have to figure this one out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I played saxophone, so I understand. You could pick up wind instruments other than like the bassoon, which is ridiculous. Yeah. And you can pretty much make something happen.
Yep.
So cool. Yep. Very cool. And you're classically trained. That's pretty awesome. Classical voice is difficult. That takes a lot of skill to actually be able to do it in college and not just be doing it in your dorm room. So
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not doing it like as a professional, so it's like it's just like when you go to school for music, and I graduated with a degree in composition. The expectation is that you have a major instrument that you take lessons throughout your time, and voice was mine. And so I went through all of the everything that they expect out of when an instrument study. As well as like learning about all of the bands and orchestras and conducting and then composition. Like, so writing for all of those things was the main thesis.
Okay. Top 3 composers right now. Who do you love?
Sibelius, Shostakovich.
Oh, wow. Oh yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Like the good Russian,
Yeah, I know. I love that. Yeah.
Fighting the system. And then, for a third, it always waffles, but lately I've been listening to a lot of Chopin. So.
Oh yeah, very good, very good. So we've only got a couple more minutes here. Let's get back to Cthulhu Dreamt.
Okay.
So the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Right now we're a couple of days away from it launching. So by the time you hear this, it has launched. I'm sure the links will be in the show notes for people to be able to go and support this project, which I highly recommend doing. I don't know if I say it on this show as much as I say it on GoFundMe, which Cthulhu Dreamt will also be featured on the GoFundMe podcast. Nice. But no matter what, if, backing it, whatever you can do is always fabulous. But if nothing else, share it with people, share the interview, share the Kickstarter, because spreading that word, you never know who's out there listening. You never know who's going to see this, like me when I saw Cthulhu Dreamt, and I'm like, I'm in. You never know.
Yeah.
And you might get somebody that listens to this interview and feels that same way, because I know if I heard this interview, I would be like, yeah, this is a music guy and he's speaking my language. I'm all in on this. Reed, where can people contact you? What's the best place for them to reach out?
The best place is probably, well, that's a good question, because like Cthulhu Dreamt has its own socials, but I also run a small studio, a creative studio called Fable Factory, and we've got a website, fablefactory.org, which has a contact page, but also like an Instagram at, oh man, I'm going to get it wrong.
It doesn't matter. We'll put all that in the show notes.
Okay.
So
yeah.
But I think that's a great way to do it. Go to the website and they can go through the contact form, and that goes to you, I assume.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Well, Reed, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck with this. I want to see you get into those stretch goals. I want to see you start crushing them. I want you to be embarrassed and go, wow, I didn't create enough stretch goals.
Oh, I would love to be in that position.
Yeah. Let's see if we can make it happen. Reed, thank you again, and good luck.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, Reed, thanks again for that awesome interview. I absolutely loved talking about music with you, hearing about your twins. The whole thing. I really just can't wait to get my hands on this soundtrack. For those of you that are listening to this podcast, stick around after the show credits. Reed gave us a sample track for Cthulhu Dreamt that you can check out. If you or anyone you know has a crowdfunding effort about to launch or currently going, send them my way. I love to share cool TTRPG projects and to help people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the TTRPG Insider Facebook page or via email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. TTRPG Insider is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks so much for listening to the TTRPG Insider.